Oh my God. Oh my God. Somebody broke into my home. Somebody broke into my home and shot my wife. At 2:30 in the morning, a frantic call comes into Miami County 911 from a quiet neighborhood in Tipp City. On the line is Caleb Flynn, his voice shaking, panicked, desperate. He tells dispatchers that someone broke in through the garage and shot his wife, Ashley Flynn, twice in the head. He says there is blood everywhere. He begs them to hurry. The dispatcher asks if the intruder is still inside. Caleb says he doesn't know. He gives the address. He says the garage door is wide open. He says his daughters are in the house. He claims they are still asleep. He says he rubbed his wife's leg, called her name, but she isn't responding. He tells the dispatcher she has 2 gunshot wounds to the head. He repeats it. 2 shots. He says her face is white as a ghost. The dispatcher tells him to place a cloth gently over the wound, but not apply pressure. He says he lays a towel on her head. Police arrive within minutes. At first, it sounds like a burglary gone wrong in a small, tight-knit Ohio town, where violent crime is rare, and everyone knows everyone. Ashley Flynn was 37 years old, a mother of 2 daughters, a substitute teacher, a 7th-grade volleyball coach, and an active volunteer in her church. She grew up in Tipp City, just north of Dayton. Her obituary would later describe her as a shining light of joy to all who crossed her path. She lived what investigators often call a low-risk lifestyle: strong family ties, deep church involvement, community-centered. Caleb Flynn, her husband, appeared to be equally respected. He was a former pastor and worship leader. In 2013, he even auditioned for American Idol, where he spoke about how much he loved his wife, calling her beautiful and saying he loved her more than anything. There was no serious criminal history, just a couple of minor traffic tickets. The couple met while attending Lee University in Tennessee, a private Christian college. Their social media showed smiling family photos, vacations by the water, daughters growing up surrounded by faith and love. When Ashley was found dead in her bedroom, the community rallied around Caleb. A GoFundMe was launched, asking people to pray for her husband and daughters. The initial statement from law enforcement described the case as a burglary gone wrong. There were signs of forced entry. The garage door had reportedly been open. Drones were deployed. K-9 units searched for a fleeing suspect. But no suspect was found, no scent trail, no surveillance footage showing someone running from the scene. Then, investigators began to look closer. The house sits on a relatively secluded street, with limited entry and exit points. In neighborhoods like this, many homes have doorbell cameras. If a stranger had walked up or fled on foot, someone might have captured something. Investigators reportedly found none of that. Inside the garage, they noticed something important. A freezer had been positioned behind the door. For someone to kick in that door from outside, they would have had to force it open and physically push that heavy freezer out of the way. That raised questions. Then there was the weapon. According to court documents, Ashley was shot with a 9mm handgun. Investigators allege that the firearm belonged to Caleb and was kept inside his vehicle. That leads to even more questions. Why would a random burglar rummage through a car, find a gun, take it upstairs, go directly to the bedroom, shoot Ashley twice in the head, and then leave without stealing anything? Why target her specifically? Why not confront Caleb? Why not take valuables? Why was nothing else disturbed in a way that suggested a true burglary? Days into the investigation, the language from police changed. The police chief described the killing as targeted and said the public was not in danger. That statement stood out. If an unknown armed intruder had just committed murder and escaped, how could the public not be at risk? Soon after, the FBI was called in to assist. Then came the bombshell. Caleb Flynn was arrested and charged with 1 count of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, and 2 counts of tampering with evidence. The criminal complaint alleges that he shot Ashley and staged the crime scene to make it look like a break-in. Investigators believe the forced entry was fabricated. They allege he attempted to mislead officers and cover up what happened. In court, Caleb pled not guilty. His bond was set at $2 million. If released, he would be placed on electronic monitoring and house arrest, and prohibited from contacting his daughters. During the hearing, when the judge explained the conditions, Caleb appeared emotional, saying he only wanted to take care of his daughters and that he was not a flight risk. But prosecutors argue the staging attempt and seriousness of the charges justify the high bond. As the legal process begins, many in Tipp City remain stunned. Some people insist they never saw any signs of trouble in the marriage. Others point out that in cases involving low-risk victims, statistics often show the offender is someone from the inner circle. Experts frequently explain that people operate with different layers of identity: the public persona seen by the community, the private persona seen by close family, and sometimes a hidden persona that no one else sees. Investigators now believe that behind the image of a devoted husband and man of faith, something far darker may have been unfolding. The motive has not yet been publicly detailed. There are questions about finances, relationship issues, possible secrets, and what may have happened in the hours before the 911 call was placed. Authorities are also examining phone records, digital activity, and forensic evidence from inside the home to reconstruct the timeline. The autopsy results are pending, and further details are expected to come out during future court proceedings. Ashley's celebration of life is scheduled at the same church where she once served. A community that once rallied around Caleb now grapples with shock and disbelief as the case moves forward. The 911 call that began with cries of panic is now being viewed by investigators as something very different. Instead of the terrified voice of a husband whose wife was killed by a stranger, prosecutors allege it was the performance of a man trying to get away with murder. As the case unfolds in court, one question hangs over this small Ohio town. How well do we truly know the people closest to us? And what secrets might be hiding behind even the most perfect public image?